the South Stand first time this year, that I've really felt a real atmosphere between both sets of fans. So the Blackpool fans, to be fair to them, the ones that weren't absolute goading idiots and down towards the bottom end of it, sang, kept the team going, joined in, gave us loads of grief. Absolutely an epitome of what an away team fans' performance should be. One of them just randomly was talking as he came out of the ground, "Oh, you got lucky there." And yeah, probably did. Like Kosi said, it turned on that sending off. But we scored 3 goals, they scored 2. 3 points to the Mighty Terriers. Cheers.
Right, guys, so I'm going to dive in because we've got a couple of people watching online and they happily pointed out to us we had no sound for the first 5 minutes. I think Matt forgot to press a button, so well done, Matt. Getting to grips with this new software as usual. This is why I obviously didn't go to university and pass an audio technician course, but we are live now. It's working. So I'll give a little bit of a brief of what we've done, and then I'll probably cut this video a little bit short. So I did a fantastically entertaining introduction as always, monologuing as I do. And essentially we had a quick chat about Huddersfield 3, Blackpool 2. You know, the Danny Ward goal we thought was absolutely superb. You know, that's the exact type of goal that you love to see. You know, a cross and a header, you know, shades of Gerrard versus Gerrard and Andy Carroll, England, Sweden, wasn't it? And obviously Town 3-2, and like Kosi was saying, the game really sort of swung on the sending off with, you know, Gabriel at Christmas, you know, getting himself sent off. You know, there was Stephen Chicken had fun with his writing with that one. And I think we all kind of thought, you know, without that sending off, Blackpool were in cruise control really, and they were really looking like the team in command, the team in the ascendancy. And you know, and it really swung, and Town really went for it. And credit to Carlos as well. We talk about the Carlos roller coaster. You know, he threw on a large number of attacking options. Jordan Rhodes came on, linked, looked pretty decent. Dan El-Sinani dropped into central midfield, and Oliver Turton came on, played, didn't he, at sort of right back, and it really freed Sorba Thomas up to do what he does best on the right wing, and he really went at it. And, you know, the moments that were created by Sorba Thomas, the 1-2s, fantastic, Kosi, weren't they? I know we've done this, but it's just for the benefit of those that didn't hear it.
Yeah, sensational, and you know, that's what we want to see from Sorba. It might be that Reading game where he was sensational. That was a long time ago at home, and yeah, I think the nice thing about it for me was that I suppose you know, when you're watching your best teams, I don't know, your Man Cities and what have you. When it got to 2-2, I thought there's only one winner. We're going to win this here. I really thought we were going to go and win it. I didn't think it were a draw. I just had that good feeling, and I knew we'd do it. I didn't think we'd win it with such a fantastic goal. So again, the belief that we've got, that just from probably the Bristol game, really, that kind of transferred into that, were fantastic. But like you said, Matt, such a strange game, because for long spells they looked so much better than us. And like you say, I thought they were going to pull away 2-3-4-1 or something at any point. And I'll probably comment on it later on. But I've watched quite a lot of Championship games this Christmas. I've been fed up of watching Strictly and all that stuff. So I've honestly, and it's incredible, the games I've watched, there's not hardly any difference in the teams. Today, that Stoke Preston game, a great example where you won't believe who were up there and who were down there. And then when you kind of analyse the table at the end, you're thinking, well, hang on a minute, if Preston win the game tonight, they'll go above us and Stoke. So it's just carnage, and I love it. I absolutely love the division, because if you don't bring your A game, you're not going to win. And luckily, Town brought it on Boxing Day, but thanks to that red card, big time.
100%.
There seems to be a spirit about them, doesn't there, at the minute? There wasn't maybe in October, November time. It was just a bit meh, wasn't it? There just didn't appear to be any energy, any passion. And but over the last few games, it's becoming more like what I like to go and watch football for. You can keep your clinical, nice passing moves and all that type of stuff in your tactics. I want to see energy, enthusiasm, and the people who care about wearing the shirt of the club that I love. And it just feels like we've got a little bit of that back. So, yeah, it was, of all the games, I missed the Blackburn home game. I think we might have been away on holiday. So that Blackpool game is my absolute top game of the season so far. It was a great watch.
I do want to address a negative, though. I am going to have to address this negative. And the negative on the day was the absolute pillock in the middle, Jeremy Simpson. And this is a referee I cannot stand. He is a terrible, terrible referee when I see him at Huddersfield Town. You know, Gary Medine, whether Gary Medine meant to plant his elbow on Tom Lees or not is another discussion. And to be honest, it's that long ago now. I'm past that. But Jeremy Simpson's decision to play on when that was a couple of yards right in front of him, and he saw Tom Lees pretty much faceplant, on the ground, I thought was really poor refereeing. And Harry Toffolo took a yellow card, screaming at him to stop the game. I just felt that in terms of we're now living in an era whereby safeguarding is paramount. We've seen a lot of things happen. The results of COVID, etc. A lot of people are struggling. With inside and outside the grounds at the minute. But in terms of a safeguarding perspective, I just thought that was a really poor moment from this referee. And he, like I say, he's not on my Christmas list anyway. But I don't know what you guys thought, but I just thought it was really negligible from the referee. And I think I'm probably stop there before he sues me.
I think for me, Medina and Lees were teammates, so there's no malice in it unless they hated each other at Sheffield Wednesday. But I don't know, you see so many players going down now to try and get a game stopped and what have you and that as well. I know you could think, well, it's Tom Lees, experienced pro, he knows he won't go down doing it. I can kind of forgive him a little bit for kind of playing on, to be honest, Matt, because I've seen so many games this season, probably more on Spanish TV, to be fair, than English, but where guys are going down, trying to get a game stopped and using the head injury as a excuse, really, to think, they'll definitely stop it there. I've seen people clutching their face and it's kind of elbowed the bottom of the kind of top of the chest and stuff. So, yeah, obviously when you look back on it and see it and stuff, it does look bad. And obviously there's a lot of being said about head injuries in recent years and stuff. But I don't know, I maybe not as outraged as you were, Matt.
It's maybe because I hate the guy so much.
He's played advantage, hasn't he? Is it Stroud, is that his name? The referee's played.
No, Jeremy Simpson. This one,
sorry. Yeah. So he thinks that Lees has fouled Medine, but Lees ends up in a heap. And I know what you mean, because I was a little bit. Is it just the typical? They've broken down the other end, so we're just going to lie prostrate and see if we can get the play call back. But I think he obviously let it go too long. Did they have a chance to score, if I remember right?
Yeah, they headed just wide, didn't they?
Yeah, so you've got to say that they should have been. I don't know what the fourth official does there, whether they're supposed to keep an eye on the player and whether they can get a message onto the referee to say, hang on a minute, we need to stop playing because it's a serious injury. Because he didn't move, did he, for minute after minute? My lad was getting a little bit worried for him because, he hadn't moved at all. And obviously, what was it, about 10 minutes he was down for, so thankfully he's all right now, isn't he? But yeah, it was a worrying time.
Let's move on from that. John Pearson online says, always been a poor referee, Jeremy Simpson, and we'll move on from that. And we were talking just before we switched the audio on. We were talking about Sorba Thomas, sponsored by AKLD, weren't we, Andy?
We were.
Is with young players, I think he's taken a bit of stick, Sorba, hasn't he? And with young players, you're always going to get peaks and troughs. Scott High's the same, he's taken a lot of stick as well. But you're always going to get good performances mixed in with bad, and they're obviously, you're going to get that graph, aren't you, going up and down. And we've seen Sorba go, skyrocket high. It's like cryptocurrency, isn't it? He went sky and then he dipped again. But he's really come back around. And that Blackpool game, he was sensational that last 25 minutes. And he played with a confidence that maybe he's not, in the previous month. And that second goal, Andy, is just absolutely superb. And he's your mate. You sponsor him. Tell us how good Sorba Thomas's performance were. And it's great to see him get those goals as well, because you could tell he absolutely loves it.
He's not my mate. I've never met the guy. Hopefully I will do as part of picking me his signed shirt up at the end of the year. The reason that I sponsored him was on his Instagram back in July. He was driving around a holiday park in Wales on his nan's mobility scooter. And I thought, I like this guy. So that's why we decided. We hadn't seen him play before then. It just showed everything that I'd want. He tried. He did it quickly as well. I'm passionate about things happening quickly. If we're going to do stuff, we need to do it quicker, and that's what we did. I think when they went down to 10 men, we moved the ball quickly, and that created the space for him to run into. When he gets tackled for the corner that he gets wiped out, doesn't he? And then we get a corner from it, the corner that we scored the third goal from. It almost bounces back up to his feet and then jogs back into the position. And I just love that energy. He's a young kid. Things will go right for him, as you say. Things will go wrong for him. But he was only playing non-league football a year ago. So he's as you said, everybody said this, haven't they? But he's bound to have fluctuations in performance, and he's bound to go up and down in terms of contributions to games. But yeah, I mean that there's a bit of luck. It's gone through about 3 pairs of legs, hasn't it, to hit the back of the net. It could have gone anywhere, but thankfully it went where we wanted it to go. So yeah,
the winner.
The thing that impressed me, obviously, we'll come on the next 2 games very shortly, but at Nottingham, he took that into the first game. He took that into the first 30 seconds and rattled their back. At Blackburn yesterday, I was on the front row with Neil, obviously a friend of the pod, and the way he glides around players, it was incredible. There were an incredible run in the second half yesterday where he just he was kind of one-on-one with a fullback, and he went past him like he wasn't there, but he just kind of old-fashioned like winger. I love it. I don't know how to describe it. He just kind of glided around the guy, and he had no margin for error. The fullback couldn't even tackle him. Obviously, he risking everything there. Couldn't put in a tackle in the area. The cutback wasn't great, and I think that's been one of the few of the issues, hasn't it, kind of recent months. But he really has got more in his locker than just like a winger beating people. He can shoot, can pass. He's energised, and I think what I like about it, the interview after the game against Blackpool, he mentioned about the crowd, how it made such a difference to him, how it kind of got the team over the line and stuff. And I do think sometimes the supporters don't realise what such a great effect they can have on that as well. And every player's different and motivated by others. If you think of the COVID times and that as well, there were players that were playing. I mean, Karoma probably couldn't win, but there were no crowds there and they were on fire. I mean, there's probably no connection with why it's been terrible this season. But I'm just thinking Soba Thomas is a guy with energy, a guy, if the crowd get on his side and that as well, he's a man that, he just thrives off it. And a full City ground again on Thursday night, he was really, really good in there as well. And I love it. And isn't it great that, after that dip, he's coming back again, and I thought it was a good management as well by Carlos on Thursday night, where they only give him an hour. So we got again another full power Sorba Thomas on, and he's playing pretty much all the games and stuff as well. Where a lot of us, obviously, he's injured now, Aaron's, but we were calling for a change in why is he still playing. So again, I think it's Carlos 1, rest of us 0, because he knows his player better than anyone.
Let's move on to Nottingham Forest as well. Kosi, you went to this game. You absolutely love the city of Nottingham, don't you? And the Trent and everything down there. The fish and chips at the West Bridgeford and Hooters, I think, is one of your favourite haunts, isn't it? So we'll go. So we'll move on to this game, and it was almost the Blackburn game in reverse, really. This in that we were pretty good, I thought, for the first half hour. I thought we were really slick. We were very sharp and threatening, and there's a lot of one-touch passing, and we transitioned really well throughout the thirds. I thought we played really well that first half hour, and then Dwayne Holmes scored, and what's a really decent move as well. Dwayne's had a good time lately as well, and I'm quite pleased to see Dwayne get that moment and go and celebrate with the fans at the end, because he's had a good time lately. Coming off the back of maybe a rough time as well. Where it's probably not. The move back home's probably not quite gone as well as maybe what he'd have hoped. And he's dipped in and out, peaks and troughs. But I thought it was great. I thought Danny Ward going off was a bit of a negative for us. I thought that Jordan Rhodes came on. I thought Jordan was excellent at defending from the in terms of corners and set pieces and coming back. But you could tell his lack of match fitness. And he's pressing from the front, and the holding the ball just wasn't really there at times for him. But he really battled manfully, and it was a real. And I think that sort of typified the performance as well, in that, everybody, whether they were tired, injured, whatnot, they all really scrapped and fought, and it was a real battling performance. And only Nottingham Forest will know how they didn't at least get a point in that game, with Brennan Johnson missing that open goal pretty much. But this is why you fall in love with teams, isn't it, Kosi? You go to Nottingham and you see people like Matty Pearson heading everything away from the box, putting everything on the line. The whole team, putting everything in there. Not one passenger, nobody shirking. And okay, maybe Nottingham Forest were the better side on the day, but Huddersfield Town laid down for nobody, and they battled, they scrapped, and they fully earned those 3 points.
We were sensational. I was absolutely buzzing. That for me, that was as sweet a win as we've had all season. No, we kind of pinched it at Bramall Lane. That was a big win, but fantastic. And we signals, obviously I mentioned there, Thomas signals intentions early doors, and the goal was brilliant. I think what I liked about what Steve Cooper was saying, they watched videos of our left-hand side. They were proper aware of Toffolo. They were proper aware of kind of Holmes and stuff, but they couldn't do anything to stop it. And you know what, Dwayne Holmes, God, we've given some stick on here, and a lot of the fans have as well, and we were a bit underwhelmed with him coming back, I'll be honest with you. But the one thing I like about it, although it nearly caused him to get a red yesterday, he really gives a shit. His passion for Huddersfield Town is massive, and yeah, we didn't need to see even that at the end with the crowd and took his shirt off or what have you. We see it week in, week out. He really does care.
He's a good lad, he's Dwayne. He's a good lad.
Shouting at the linesman yesterday. We had some really good views because we saw at the front and stuff. But yeah, the goal were really good. It's a bit difficult at the City Ground when you're in that away end because it's everything at the other end's kind of far away. It's a bit like in the South Stand, really. You know, you don't get because you're quite low down. If you're on the way the bit is, but yeah, it were brilliant. And to be honest, yeah, all right, Forest easily could have made us case for it. We were chatting after in one of the bars. It wasn't Hooters, by the way. A lot of town fans did get in there. I don't know what that says though. I heard people moaning that they couldn't get in, but I don't know. But they were saying it's just the division summed up. We couldn't have argued if we'd lost 3 or 4-1 there, maybe 4 a bit harsh, but 3-1. But we deserved it, and just I love to see bodies on the line and commitment. It's old school, and
Warnock flashbacks, aren't they?
Oh, we've got people who care now and that as well. And to be honest, we probably knowing Tarney, we wouldn't have done anyway. But when Sinani fluffed his moment in the second half, you're thinking, here we go. Is that where we've missed his opportunity? But again, Lee Nichols, fantastic, and yeah, you need a bit of luck. We got that when it bounced off the bar, and obviously the guy with a shocking miss, but. Again, we had this moment as well. Was it O'Brien? Was that were a brilliant save? Was it from Sam? But sensational. We're going one way and the other. So it wasn't exactly they had a lot of possession. They had a lot of chances and easily could have won the game. But I don't think it was one-sided as kind of some of the reports I read after. But what a ground though. We've lost a couple of times, but every time I go there, we always seem to get a result. And yeah, we're buzzing. 1,300 town fans. One of those where it's easily, we're at Blackburn on Thursday. It's Christmas, costly. But 1,300 and odd people give it shit, and they were so rewarded, and it was just a brilliant night. I love it there. The lights were on, and at the end, the celebrations were fantastic. And give massive credit for Carlos and that as well. He's got one over Steve Cooper again. I think it's that third time in a row. Love it, man.
Yeah, he is. He does definitely get one over Ned Schneebly, doesn't he? Andy, overall, I think maybe a touch fortunate, possibly, but. Just brilliant. It's like it's absolutely fantastic. When you go to Nottingham, one of the best things or worst things, depending on your viewpoint, when you go to Nottingham, is when they score and they sing "You've Lost That Loving Feeling" to you, and it's just such a brilliant shithouse song, isn't it? By supporters, because it winds a lot of people up and it sounds pretty good. But to keep a clean sheet there, okay, take Johnson's miss aside, Lee Nichols. He's becoming a real favourite, isn't he, among Huddersfield fans? He's a really strange one for me, is Lee Nichols, because, well, not strange. It's very, very simple. He's very good, very, very good at the very basics of being a goalkeeper. He's very good at commanding his 6-yard box, his communication, his organising, his awareness is off the scale. His awareness of where the ball's going to go is fantastic. But he never makes what you would class as these flying world-class saves. Everything that is, the save at Nottingham and QPR, pretty much straight at him. But it's his positioning and his knowing of reading the situation, and he's there in the first place. You can see why he's becoming a huge favourite. And obviously, if you missed that Blackburn game, you missed an amazing slow reaction dive that he did against Blackburn to waste time. It was absolutely outstanding. But he's becoming a huge favourite, and he deserves it, doesn't he?
It absolutely does. Yeah, Forest was a big game for me because we haven't got one but 2 Forest supporting dads in my lads' team, and when they beat us at home, they both rocked up in Forest kit to the game on the morning after. So I had to get some bragging rights back, and I only saw one of them. Only one of them turned up.
Shithouse.
Yeah, absolute. Yeah, the other one said his lad had got COVID or something. So I got full kit on, and then I got my tracksuit, and I got a t-shirt underneath and everything. If I could have found my town underpants, I'd have had my town underpants on display as well for him, to bless him. But he said one word, and that word was robbery. And well, I can't disagree with him. I only saw the first half because I was that nervous. I had to go in the bath for the second half. I just couldn't face watching it on the telly. And I was getting updates from the room about how we were getting on, but it just appeared all the stats were in Forest's favour. Everything pointed to an easy home win, but just every now and again you get one of those games where the opposition just can't score. You nick a goal, and you shit house a point, 3 points, and that's what we did, and that's what you'll take it all day long.
I thought we deserved a point, and probably a bit harsh to get a win there. But against Sinan, it's so frustrating. I don't understand. The guy, I asked the question to a few people at halftime at Blackburn, would you want to sign him? Some were saying, if he's available on a free, I'll get him. Others were saying, I wouldn't want to pay anything for him. The guy is so weird. I know we were waxing lyrical, weren't we, the Bristol City podcast, but horrendous miss, and it affected his confidence the rest of the game there, and we were pretty anonymous again yesterday at Ewood Park, and I don't want to...
he's up and down, isn't he? I think that's the best way to describe him.
The guy's an odd player. I don't know, you can see why Norwich have obviously said you can have him if you want him, but really, I'm not. His value, he's just such a strange player. He's one of the ones I've not known kind of judge. I thought he would turn in the corner, but
inconsistent. I think inconsistent. We'll say inconsistent. Won't we? He's done a few of those bad misses this season. You remember his debut against Everton, where he sort of, it was on his right foot, wasn't it? About 6 yards out, and he slashed at it wildly. But the goal against Bristol City is fantastic. I think it's just championship footballer, attacking footballer. He's probably rated around the 500,000 bit mark, I would say. And when you get players like that, they'll do the moments of genius every now and then. I think if he was probably producing a couple of those Bristol City performances, every month, then we probably wouldn't have had him. He'd be at Norwich because they're not doing very well either this season. So it's just one of those things, isn't it? Shall we move on to Blackburn? I think let's have a look online. Jacob Hurst said about the Blackpool game, really showed how far we've come against Blackpool. We gave 2 soft goals away, but still managed to come back. We've all said how solid Blackpool are and were, but we've put 6 past them this year, and that's a good point. It's quite good. I think 4 of those as well have made the Andy Takes That Chance top 10 goals of 2021 as well. So there we go. 6 of them were against a team that started with black. There you go. Ironic. But let's move on to Blackburn, because Kosi, you went with the big man, Emmanuel Noah.
Before we spoke about,
you're going to talk about the queues.
About any football. What an absolute disgrace that was yesterday. An absolute joke. There were people tweeting me, said they were going home because it were absolutely pouring down. Honestly, the game, I thought we thought another 20 minutes of that rain, that game would have been off because the ball were not holding up in the warm-ups. It was unbelievable. But going back to the tickets farce, absolute disgrace. We got there at 12 o'clock. And we're like, there's a big queue. I'm like, what's going on here? They're waiting to see the players come in or what have you. And that's all. No, this is for tickets. Well, there's 4 booths. 2 of them are shut. 2 of them are open. Then this guy's shouting, right, cash only. It's like, so I'm like, hang on a minute, mate. So there's only one of them got a card reader. Yeah. It's just like, so hang on a minute here. So it's 2 hours before kickoff. You've got Huddersfield fans who've been told it's pay on the turnstile, which is bollocks because it's not a turnstile. You pay at this ticket office before you even get anywhere near the turnstile with your COVID pass. So that's obviously not going to help, speed and stuff. And it was a disgrace. And I kind of went for a bit of what got caught in that deluge, come back into the ground about 1:15. The queues were absolutely horrendous. And to be honest with you, with the rain as it is, I don't blame people for turning around. It was lost the money. But I'm sorry. It's like, we're on about COVID here, and we're on about this COVID pass. So yeah, let's just open 2 out of 4 places. One of them's not even got a card reader. So and then people stood next to each other and that as well. It was an absolute disgrace. And this is a team who was Premier League, one of the champions in '94. Honestly, mate, you'd see better organisation at Liverpool or Ossett United. It was a disgrace. And Blackburn, to me, embarrassing. And then when you get in the ground, so again you're thinking, okay, COVID and stuff. So you've got that massive end, the top and bottom tiers. Obviously it must be a cost-cutting thing. And Blackburn's ends as well. So why not open the bloody whole thing up? So you had us all bunched into that side and that as well. There's people piling in late that are pissed off anyway because it's like 20 minutes gone and stuff like that as well. They're soaked to the skin. They paid 30 quid and they're being told. And then so the stewards before were saying sit in your seat, and then all of a sudden they abandon that. So right, sit anywhere. It would have bloody shambles from start to finish there and that as well. And honestly, I'm surprised that more won't made it. I think because our performance were that good, people get on with it. But that's bollocks that, and that's like a team probably, in my opinion, could be Premier League next year. They need to really, be accountable for that. End of rant.
No, interesting. I didn't go. So you have my sympathy on that one. I thought about it, but ended up not going. Let us know online if you were affected by that as well. I did actually see a few stories where people turned up, queued in the rain, and then got there and realised it was 30 quid at the ticket office, and then turned around and went back to the pub. Which, after you spent so long queuing, I'd be like, but there we go. Yeah, Jonathan Adamson, just going back to Sinani, says, understand what you mean about Sinani, but a streaky player who pulls things out of the bag is better than a hard worker that does nothing. Kachunga, Scott High, bit harsh on Scott High. He's also a left foot set piece option. To be fair, his set pieces are very good, Sinani. He's balls into the box, so we'll give Sinani a bit of credit for that. But yeah, Blackburn. So tough start that, Cos. The first half hour, I thought we were going to get absolutely battered. And there's a couple of contentious decisions. Mowbray lost his rag, which was quite fun to see. He lost his rag really over Toffolo fouling someone on the touchline that didn't get given. But really, the ire of his wrath, if you like, was about a penalty decision on Ben Brereton Diaz. But it can do one because Tom Lees does potentially foul Brereton, but it's outside the box, so it's not a penalty. And then Matty Pearson and Ben Brereton Diaz just come together hip to hip, and there's nothing going there. But I think, so for me, nothing going. Keith Stroud gets that one right. If he gives the foul against Tom Lees, no problem. It's outside the box. It's never a penalty in a million years. So shut up, Tony. And on Pearson, there's nothing going wrong there either. So, but that start, and Dwayne Holmes got tackled by a puddle, didn't he, after about 20 minutes? Town had a breakaway and Holmes tried to dribble it through the middle of the pitch, and he ended up going into the Blackburn half, and the ball stayed behind. It was quite a strange start, but I thought Town did really well, Andy, to sort of come back into that game, and it just shows the sort of mental toughness that they've got, where last year, 12 months, maybe not 12, maybe 10 months ago, they'd have rolled over, and the performance at Blackburn last year was one of the worst that you'll see from a Huddersfield team in this century. It was appalling. But this one, complete polar opposite, where they've really sort of, again, mental toughness, aptitude, and it's the sort of things we love to see, really. And they deserved, they dug in and really got what they deserved in the end.
Yeah, I haven't been able to see any of it, but from the brief highlights that I've seen and what's been mentioned online, absolutely deserved a point there. All the tweets straight after the game, great point, good point. So a lot of people saying the same things. That maybe there is something going on. Maybe there's a lot of talk about how well they get on off the pitch. And I think Danny Schofield said in his post-match stuff about that he's never seen a group of players that get on as well as these guys do. And something. A big pinch of salt with that, because you hear a lot of that from every club. Tells you how great the players love each other and they're around each other's houses for breakfast and all that type of stuff, and usually it's utter rubbish. But maybe there is something about the way that the culture that Corberan's been generating at Town. I don't know, but there's something going on, and more power to it. I'll be interested to see what side we put out at Burnley. I don't think it will be a full strength side by any stretch of the imagination, but maybe it'll be a chance to give some of my lads in the B team a run out. But yeah, chuffed to bits. If somebody said to us, I would have been happy with just 1 point from those two really tricky away fixtures. If you'd have asked me, before, I'd said we might get a point one way, but to get 4, amazing stuff. So and still be in top 6 at this point, I genuinely can't say staying there. But you never know. That's because he said already the results keep sort of flipping our way, don't they? And you need a bit of that.
For me, I thought it was the best point since Chelsea away. The best away point since Chelsea, since the Potter. 100%. We played a top team there who were absolutely destroying anyone in front of them and that as well. Side. And you know what? They couldn't take it yesterday because they just expected us to roll over and die. They probably didn't, because they saw us on Thursday and we had a bit of backbone. It was brilliant, and we were really getting on their nerves and that as well. So much so that a pathetic incident later on with Dwayne Holmes, we were furious at it. That was also a goal. Yeah. They put this incident on 2 or 3 times deliberately, trying to get the crowd bad, and that were bollocks for that. And Blackburn again, never mind the ticket thing, they should be pulled up on that as well. But I loved it. The fact that yesterday, it made me really proud that, this were a team that we've talked in this podcast last couple of seasons. I can't identify this team. I don't. They don't kind of represent me, And when you think, likes of let's name them, Diakabi, and Benza, Bakuna, they wouldn't have been up for that yesterday in the rain and the pissing rain at Ewood, mate. They'd have been nowhere to be seen. We'd have gone under 5 or 6 yesterday. It'd have been bollocks. They're the top team. I think they'll go up, to be honest with you. I suppose Brennan Diaz keeps that up, but yeah, and we just stood there and we'd be counted in that as well. And yeah, while we never kind of really looked like scoring, we were doing everything that we need to do. And Matt, you were so right there. Where you said the first 20 minutes, I thought we were going to go under big time because they start so strong, as you'd expect, really, with their home records. Is it best in England or something like that? Someone was saying.
Yeah.
Me and Neil looked at each other. It's like, well, bloody hell, it's going to be a long afternoon here. But we just managed to get back in the game. We got a foothold in, and when we decided that the middle of the pitch was where the lake was, and we decided to kind of go a bit wide, we were really good. And yeah, again, some real heroes there. I thought, I've got to be negative. I thought Lewis O'Brien were absolutely shocking. It was one of the worst games
I thought he did all right
that I've ever seen him play. But and we're probably going to come on to him now. But I cannot remember a performance as good against a top team in the last 2, 3, 4 seasons than Levi Colwill was yesterday. It was absolutely sensational, and I didn't realise, someone sent me a tweet today. I think some Chelsea guys put this video together of what he did yesterday. Some funky music. Oh man, it was sensational. Me and Neil again were looking at each other like, bloody hell, he's on fire. This half time we were saying, what a performance, Levi Colwill. They asked I think the crowd, the stadium announcer asked someone to move a Mercedes, and I thought, don't leave the ground, Colwill, mate, because you're like the Merc.
The Rolls Royce, yeah. Someone's left a Rolls Royce parked in the Huddersfield penalty box.
How good were he yesterday?
Mate, he was outstanding against Forest as well. The 2 games where I've got like players, individuals that have stood out coming up next. And if you're listening to us still online, if you've not gone to sleep yet, let us know who's really stood out for you over the last 3 or 4 games. But Levi Colwill and Matty Pearson as well, absolutely, a pair of them, absolutely outstanding, I thought. And it was a brilliant rearguard performance by the back three.
Which were the game where Colwill had, I don't know, a shocker, but he gave up, it won, but 2 goals away. Which was it? Was it Middlesbrough? I can't remember.
He gave the first one away against Bristol City a couple of weeks ago.
That was it. Yeah, that was it. And I thought, in a way, that's development. You need. Yeah. I know it's not great, but you're going to go learn on the job in that. And honestly, it's amazing that he's just come back from that and just brushed it off. He looks just a serious footballer. And again, the back three was sensational again yesterday. Tom Lees came back,
Class.
Absolutely fantastic. And yeah, honestly, I that just felt like a win yesterday to me, because you knew that we'd gone to a, really good side and caused them problems as well. And yeah, honestly, this Huddersfield Town side, and it made me think. I suppose I know what you're saying, Andy, and my heart does feel mid-table, but. Yeah. Stuff like yesterday, you're thinking, okay, if Dean gets excited in January and brings in maybe someone to give Scott Ayerest a proper creative midfielder and maybe a striker, then why not? But more kind of games like that, we're fantastic, and it's just everything I want to see in a Town team. Bodies on the line, people caring, people shouting at linesmen because they're not getting the decisions. We've got to spit it back, Andy. Whatever happens this year, hopefully it won't go tits up like last season, but there's injuries with a lot to do with that, I think, as well. But we've got Huddersfield Town is back, and that means a lot to me, because it's worth. I know probably some didn't go for 30 quid, but it's worth watching for me, and it just frustrates me that people still won't give Carlos anything. I've never known anything like it, apart from Lou Macari. I mentioned it after the Blackpool game, but it just feels like that. People just won't have Carlos. Some will not have him, and even though we're doing so well, and for me, exceeding expectations with the group of players it's got, they won't have him. And it's weird. I just don't get it. And
some people dig the trench, don't they, and they don't leave. I think that's the thing, isn't it? But
weird.
Dwayne Holmes, you were talking a little bit there about how they showed the incident on the big screen. I think your iPad went a little bit glitchy during the middle of that, but you were mentioning that Dwayne Holmes was, that potential red card incident, was flashed up on the screen, and you're not allowed to do that in the Premier League, show contentious decisions. And it did feel like the whole game, Blackburn were constantly trying to influence the referee The guy at the back, what was he called, Van Heck? The centre back. He was constantly going, "You should have given us a penalty." Holding two fingers up all the time. We should have had two penalties, etc.
Yeah,
he was an absolute knob, that guy, and he should have been sent off as well. So But Dwayne Holmes, do you think that was a red card? I think maybe the saving grace is the defender comes across and pushes him and he slips a little bit. But for me, it was a little bit daft from Dwayne. It looked initially like he was going to go, "I'm going to do this bastard," and then he went, "Oh crap, no!" And then he's just slipped. It kind of felt a bit like that. I thought he was probably a bit lucky in that if he'd have been sent off, you probably couldn't
it in real time,
really
Matt.
have it.
It didn't feel it in real time, Matt. But again, we were in the front row and what have you, and I think as well the conditions probably made the referee think, slipped and what have you and stuff as well. But it's one of those. I think you do look back, you think, if it had gone, he can't really argue as well. But it's we got stuck in. We give it to him and that as well. And we looked threatening a little bit on the break and that as well. And it would have, if you thought Forest were a robbery, I think yesterday might have been the big one. But you know what, Nichols didn't really do much, did he, Matt?
One save maybe. Thomas cleared one not off the line, but 6 yards. I didn't think. I thought we limited them. I thought we were excellent at the back and we limited them. The penalty incident with O'Brien. Do you reckon it was probably right in front of you? How did you see that one? It was right at the end of the first half, wasn't it, where the diagonal came across and it was headed back against Lewis, and it seems to hit him on the arm. But I thought I would.
It hit him on the arm, but I did think he couldn't do it about it.
That's what I thought. So I had a look at the handball rule because I have to be the geeky one of this podcast, and the penalty, because I don't know what the bloody rules are anymore, because they change things that often, don't they? I've got absolutely no idea. So I had a quick look, and apparently the hand or the arm is clearly away from the body, outside the body line. It was kind of in the running motion, so 50-50. The player clearly leans into the path of the ball. Nope. The ball travels some distance. Nope. It was point blank. The ball touches a hand arm that is clearly raised above the shoulder. Nope. The player falls and hand arm is extended laterally or vertically away from the body. Nope. So for me, that doesn't meet the criteria for a handball in the box. So Tony Mowbray back in your box. For me, no penalty.
I'll tell you what was nice as well, though. I personally haven't seen it because it gets me a bit pissed off when town fans sometimes have grudges against ex-players. But Jordan Rhodes got a reception for a king there, mate, and it was nice to see. It was nice to see. We've seen some of our players come back and get some stick, and I'm thinking, I don't get it, but
top lad, Jordan. You can't hate Jordan Rhodes, can you? He's just such a nice bloke, isn't he? There's no way you can dislike this guy. He's just such a nice, unassuming guy, isn't he? And interviews really well, and good role model for everybody, for kids, isn't he, Andy, and what have you. And you can't dislike Jordan Rhodes. He's just a nice bloke, isn't he? Just a really nice bloke. Yeah, and you got to give Blackburn fans credit as well, because I saw that as well, that they were, gave him a big round of applause, didn't they? And it was reciprocated. So well done to the Blackburn fans on that one. Individuals who stood out. So
I can't believe the Christmas we've had.
Oh, but individuals, who stood out. We've mentioned Levi Colwill. What amazes me about Levi Colwill is he's so cool on the ball in pressure situations. There's a few times against Nottingham Forest where 2 or 3 players pressed him, and he finds a reverse pass on his weaker foot to Oliver Turton at the other side of the pitch. He's so good on the ball, so good. And it's the thing that really impresses me is when the ball goes to the striker, he gets these little foots. He gets his foot in all the time. You know what I mean? And he's strong, but he's not a brute or anything at the back. He's just so clever, in how he gets his foot in. And this guy's going all the way to the top. He is such an outstanding footballer, and I think we're very lucky to see him at Huddersfield this season, to have him for the year. He's great.
It's kind of ironic now later, and it's a bit harsh in it really, because obviously the Premier League's different to our standard, but Mr. Shalabam had a complete balls, didn't he, against Liverpool, but the only worry is, I don't know on the contract how watertight it is, Matt, but Paul's made a good point today on our internal communications group, WhatsApp, but a lot of Premier League teams are recalling these loanees back just because of the COVID situation. But it kind of makes me laugh but yet they won't play. They'll get games called off and they won't play these guys. But yet they'll call them back. So let's just hope that Tuchel.
There will be every loan. Every season-long loan has a break contract. There's a set point in January where you can actually recall them, but I wouldn't imagine Chelsea will enact that. I think they've got quite a. Although he was whinging about the squad, wasn't he? But he was whinging about having to play under 23 players, Tuchel, and Colwill's an under 18 for Chelsea, so we should be all right. So
you can have Naby Sarr, mate.
Yeah, send them now. Naby's all right, bless him. But yeah, so talk about players. Matty Pearce.
That's what I mean. I just think sorry, Matt. It shows our strength in depth a little bit more. That Sarr would have started every week last season, along with Edmonds Green, obviously. Doing well down there, getting some rave reviews, but. We've improved the back line, mate, and it's there for all to see. 2 clean sheets at Nottingham and Blackburn, sensational.
Matty Pearson, another one, stands out to me, guys. Matty Pearson, I wouldn't say he's my favourite player because I like, your Colwill's type centre-backs, who can pass and really good under thing. But Matty Pearson's like the opposite end of the scale. But it's almost like we've got this back three and we've got the really classy player in Levi Colwill who'll go on to great things. He's great with the ball at his feet, good interception, reads the game well. Then you've got the not really that old, is he, Tom Lees? He's younger than us. He's stood in the middle of the back three, orchestrating, the puppeteer, talking, organising, and he's a quality player, is Tom Lees. And then you've got your butcher on the right hand side, you sort of the man who, Matty Pearson, if he stands at Manchester Airport, he's going to head aeroplanes away from landing. He's such a tough lad, isn't he? And he'll put any part of his body in line to stop a goal, and you've got to love that about him. And I thought he was outstanding against Blackburn, really outstanding. Everything that came into the box, he just absolutely hoovered up, and I just thought he was brilliant. And there are times where I watch him and I think, not sure about Matty Pearson, but over this period, I think he's been exceptional. And you've got to when a player plays well, I think it's only fair that you give the praise. And if you're gonna slate him, previously or later on down the line, you call it as you see it. And I think he's been great, Matty Pearson, lately.
Matt, I think you've got to say it. I think you've got to say the same for Ollie Turton at Forest, mate. I thought he was
did well.
And, he's doing jobs, coming in and steady away, playing in unfamiliar positions. So that's what I mean. You've got to give credit where it's due. That's what annoys me when people are not giving the Carlos the credit. They're still sticking behind this narrative that it's boring and this, that, and the other. God, it's just like it might not be exactly rock and roll Guardiola football, but you can't argue with that Blackpool game with exciting stuff. The Bristol game were exciting. I think I don't know. I just think frustrating that people won't. I honestly don't think a playoff spot will turn people over with Carlos. I think that's just it.
Do you know what it is, mate?
Really, really strange.
In my fantastic monologue, which nobody heard at the start, when I did the old Lang Syne bit, which I did in about the space of 30 seconds, I think the first thing I put was, should early 2021's form be forgotten, never brought to mind? And that is because when you judge Carlos Corberán, at the back of everybody's head is still that diabolical run from last year, how everything looked great, and then all of a sudden everything went really bad. And I still think that's at the back of everyone's mind, whereby we're 6th, but we might end up 18th. I still think unless Carlos pushes this through till the end of the season and we finish okay, I think this is going to be at the back of everybody's, well, not everybody, but a lot of people's mind, that things can go from really good to really bad really quickly under Carlos. And I think if we get through to the end of the season and we don't have a repeat of anything, then I think people will be more trusting. I've become more trusting as this has gone on. Every time we hit a bad run at the start of the season, I thought, oh no, this is it. We're going to be on a bad run now. But he's turned it round every time. And slowly with me, I'm thinking, I think Carlos is doing a great job as well, like Kosi. I don't love the guy that much. I find it hard to connect with him. Like you mentioned, because a lot of the players I feel connected with, bonded with, in that football fan way. Carlos, I struggle a little bit, but he's doing a good job. I definitely don't want him sacked or replaced or anything like that. And the more that we come back and we turn games around like Blackpool, the more trust he's winning back with me. And I'm quite happy to say at the end of the season, if we finish, I don't know, top half, I'm quite happy to say, great job, Carlos. You've got my full 100% faith and trust. And I think that might be it, because, I think that was it flipped so badly last season that I think people have got trust issues maybe. But I think he's winning a lot. I think he is winning people around more.
There's plenty to build on with Carlos, and whatever happens now, now hopefully we don't do a plummet before. But Matt, I've got to be negative here, but sorry, but again, what has happened to Josh Koroma?
Oh mate, it's still here, gathering dust.
You know
look,
what? I'm not
the conch. I thought he did okay against Blackburn.
I hate to play amateur psychologist, but I hate to play amateur psychologist, but I'm going to do it. His body language looks horrendous.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrendous.
Do you know what?
He had a good chance. Matt, what? He won it just one good season. Well, he had a good season for later on, but I can't believe it. He's not offered us anything. I mean, you thought
there are bits he does well. There are bits he like against Reading as well. But when I
He's only a young kid.
I know he is. Yeah. I think the only thing that
Mine was sensational last year.
the only thing that kind of like where I'm a little bit unsure is when I put that that top. I'm going to keep saying this, on YouTube. Look at our top 10 2021 goals. But when I put that together, I noticed on a couple of those goals when we scored, everybody, all the players are going crazy, apart from Josh Koroma, who's quite cool. But I don't know if that's just his demeanour, that he's quite a cool character, and where everyone's jumping up and down celebrating, and he's kind of just like, meh. And I don't know. I don't know whether he's happy or whether there's something. His contract situations, there's that. I think that's rumbling on in the background, could be off-putting for him. I think there are times moments this season where it looks like he'll cut in and he'll have a shot and you think, yeah, that's it. Blackpool away, Kosi, when he put that ball in the top corner, that was an outstanding goal. And there are the little flashes here and there where you think, yeah, he's still there. But also he's not really played him that much, and it'd be interesting to know what's going on there. But I still think Koroma can turn it back around. I think he's a great talent. Maybe he became a bit predictable because a lot of it is, like Karlan Grant, cutting on his right foot, bang. And I think people are doubling up on the inside to him a little bit more now, and he's maybe finding it a little bit tougher. But I don't know. I think he'll come back. I've got faith in the conch. I'm like Paul Bearer and the Undertaker with his conch. I was saying to Brady the other day. I've got faith in him. I think he can come back fully, Josh Koroma. But sooner rather than later would be nice, Josh, and hopefully the contract situation gets sorted as well.
Talking to players that have stood out, I think we've got to remember Mr. 4-in-4, Mr. Toffolo. Certainly over this last.
He's on my list. The boy's on my list.
He's got to be in there. And I've always loved the connection that he's had with us on the touchline. But yeah, I think he's recovered along with Sorba. He's recovered a bit of form. So,
yeah, he's been excellent. Again, Harry, if you listen, sign your contract, mate, along with Josh. Sign the bloody contract. It's New Year now. I'm getting impatient. Get it signed. Otherwise, I'm bringing it over and forcing it. I'm going to do a Lee Clark on him and lock him in a room somewhere. But yeah, Sorba Thomas, sponsored by AKLD, obviously, Andy, has come back again, showing great form. And the other one I've put is Lewis O'Brien. I think Lewis O'Brien has been phenomenal. I know Kosi didn't think he had his best game against Blackburn, and I can understand that because his passing was a little bit off, but I've put that down to the pitch as much as anything. But I think Scott High has done really well in a lot of things. I think Scott High on the ball does really well. Off the ball, he struggles a bit more because of his body stature. He's built like an under 17 still, isn't he, Scott High? So I think sometimes when we're out of possession, he can struggle a little bit. But on the ball, I think you look at the goals against Bristol City, Coventry. There's a number of goals where he starts the move or assists the assister, if you like. And I think without a clever ball from Scott High, the goal doesn't happen, especially the Bristol City one where Sorba puts it on a plate for Danny Ward to head in. That's a fantastic ball. So he is bringing something, but he wouldn't quite make my list of individuals that have stood out. But for me, I think Lewis O'Brien has been a real driving force. I think he's been phenomenal in midfield this season. And when you talk about players of the year, it's going to be really interesting. At the halfway point, there's a lot of people. Tom Lees as well. Lewis, Lee Nichols, all making a dash out there for the second half of the season, and I think that's going to be an interesting race at the end of the year. But well done to these guys because they've been a lot of fun to watch. They've been outstanding, and people are like Kosi. I think Kosi, you'd lost the love almost watching Huddersfield Town not so long ago, and now you go into Blackburn, you go into Nottingham Forest, you go into Hooters, and you're absolutely turning up, and you're having and you can see you're loving it. You feel connected with these guys, and Carlos and the rest of the players have given us something to be happy and proud of again, haven't they? So it's really good to see. That's where you come in, Kosi, and agree with me.
Incredible how it has changed because, yeah, definitely. I mean, I think maybe I have too negative at the start, but obviously I think there's someone at Luton didn't want, and then MK Dons didn't even you weren't even their first keeper, and then to go Sheffield Wednesday, gone from there. Honestly, maybe it needed these guys. Well, it obviously has, but maybe the show ponies that we've kind of had before that, not going to do it on a a wet Sunday in Blackburn. These are the people that you've just got to give the recruitment team massive credit. Yeah, Aaron's will always be chucked in the bit. You're not going to get everyone right, though, are you? But it's like these is fantastic. And Jordan Rhodes, from what we've seen, little snippets, I still think that he's got plenty to offer us.
Roll it back.
He looks sharp, and we know where give him a chance and he'll score. So yeah, Pippa looked, let's say, rusty at Nottingham, but again, he's another one to come back. Johnny Ogg's not far away.
Yeah.
Aaron Rowe, obviously, been kind of getting.
Yeah, we like Aaron Rowe. Yeah, we like Aaron Rowe. Good player.
Yeah, I just think though, I think you're right, Matt, with Scott Iron. He's done all right, but I think if we're genuine playoff contenders, I think that's the position that needs to be.
We're gonna talk about January in a moment and 2021, and I think Scott's probably
2022.
2022. Do you know, I still haven't adjusted yet. I'm still on 2021 time. 2021 was a really shit year for me, and I really need to get into 2022. So I'm going to move swiftly, and I'm going to move swiftly to the YouTube comments. You see how I transition there, Cos? So we've got Gerard Island. I like that. Says, any weight in the noise coming from Watford in regards to Levi Colwill? I've not heard this at all, but I presume that Watford might be interested in Levi Colwill. I did hear another Premier League team might be interested in Levi Colwill, but to buy him as well. But I don't think anything will happen. I think we've been good to Chelsea over the last few years, with Trev and a few others, and I think they will honour that. I hope they do anyway, because we're definitely not getting top six without Levi Colwill. But I think we'll be okay for Levi Colwill. But after this season, we will not see him in a Huddersfield shirt again until he's like 37 and coming back down. I don't think. But Richard Hookie says the squad has been built here at Town. Had some good quality players. Add some good quality. I think he's had some good quality players to this squad next season. Who knows? I think he means add. Jason says, agree regarding the body language, offers absolutely nothing in a Town shirt present. Jay, got to believe in the conch of Josh Karoma. John Pearson says, maybe people can't connect with Carlos because he's difficult to understand when he does his interviews. Not his fault because English isn't his first language. I think there's some truth in that for some people. I think it's the tone as well, isn't it? Because I don't think Carlos enjoys the post-match stuff. And he's very one-toned as well. There's not much emotion. With Wagner, he was very up and down. Your emotions are here and there, and he was great to listen to. Danny Cowley was quite good to listen. Most of the time, he was quite, a lot of cliches, but, there's a bit of emotion there, and you get something. Jan Sievert was brilliant because he was very emotional. Whereas Carlos is quite monotone, isn't he, and quite serious and business. And I think maybe that comes across as maybe passionless, possibly. But I don't think that's the case with Carlos. I think he just genuinely doesn't enjoy it. And when you saw him and listened to him when he did the stuff with the Cowshed Loyal and stuff, I actually thought Carlos was quite good to listen to, quite witty. I thought it was quite decent. So I think maybe we'll see more personality come out as we get to know each other with Carlos. And we have to remember he had a full season behind closed doors without Town fans as well. So I think he will be on his way back. Also, and finally, Richard Hookie says, any of the back line for me last season when someone came in, we were leaking goals. This season, even with injuries, we just looked difficult to beat, and I think that's right. And Gerard Island says it was for a loan deal for Levi, so that'll be interesting. We'll keep an eye on that one. Right, guys, anything to add to that, Cos, before I go on? Your mouth's open.
Only thing I would think is obviously Colwill won't be with us next year, but could Edmonds Green,
he's
as well as he is.
He's right side, isn't he? But
yeah,
I think that's the case. But that might mean Pearson has to move to the left, or one of them has to move to the left. But yeah, I think Romani, they've done a good job there. And Romani Critchlow as well, out at Swindon as well. He's a ball playing left sided centre back, so apparently doing quite well. So he's got a bit more of a jump, hasn't he, from League Two to the Championship? Well, possibly Premier League, who knows? So we'll see, won't we? But BK8. I've become our official betting partner. These were the guys that were dropped by Norwich. So where do we stand on this? So I'm a director of a company. Andy, you own your own company. For me, if it came to sort of partnering with these guys, I would probably given them a swerve. Because it's not, the Norwich thing's quite recent. It's a bit of a hot topic, isn't it? And I'm trying to tread lightly here because on one side, their advertising was a bit unbefitting of a family football club, wasn't it? The previous one with, that they did in Asia. And I agree with that. But they've also been working quite hard to repair that as well. And they've ditched that marketing company who did that for them. They've brought in Kelly Smith as an ambassador and tried to make changes, to how they do things. For me, I'm tempted to say it's a little bit cancel culture in a way. And the question really is, how long does something stay cancelled, and are you allowed to make amends for errors of the past? So, you know, I think that's where I'm at with it. Whereas I would have given them a swerve personally because of everything that comes with it, you know, in the past. But how long are you allowed to, you know, and make amends for yourself? You know, are you allowed to move in a different direction? And I think that's where I'm at. I agree with, and the letter that Jolly Shoggy wrote on Twitter as well, I thought was very well put, very well written as well, and I agreed with it. But I think the only sort of counter I can offer is, how long do you say no to BK? Are they allowed to come back from that? And, you know, and jump in, Andy. I think you've hopefully got something to say, because I'm starting to waffle a bit.
I'm sort of with you on it. I don't know when the advertising happened. It certainly for Rory was 6 months ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that doesn't feel long enough for their brand to have re-established itself in a lot of people's eyes. And I think that's a lot of the reason why there was the outpouring of very justified rage about the stuff that they've done with Norwich and what have you. I think one of the things that when Town made the announcement, there was a thing about they'd checked in with the company and they'd looked at their values, and that's a bit of corporate speak, isn't it? You know, but they'd obviously anticipated the fact that people would not be happy with that. I think the Kelly Smith thing is a definite attempt to add a bit of credibility to the organisation. Would I have gone with them? Probably not, given what had happened in the past. But I think they should be given a chance. One of the things that in my very tiny dealings with Town, when I started doing the sponsorship for Fraser Campbell last year, and it was Sober this year, I had a really good conversation with Ian Bertley, who I think is the chief commercial guy. I think he's taken over from the Sean Jarvis role. Yep. Really impressed me in the way that he listened to me, was really honest about the feedback that I gave him about the way they wanted to renew the shirt sponsorship with me. I wasn't impressed by how it was handled, but they listened to me, put it right. And if they tell me that they've gone off and done that, based on my very limited interactions with Town, I believe them. So I believe that they've made the choice with the right intention. Now, whether they should have made that choice is maybe a different matter. And I think I will. But one of the things that I've noticed recently is there's a lot more partnerships coming on board. There's a lot more commercial stuff happening. I know there was the strikes thing that people didn't like. And people will always find what they're looking for, won't they? So if you don't like what the club do, you'll find the reason why. If you're a bit like me and a bit of a happy clapper and do-gooder, you'll find the reason why it's okay. So I think we've just got to respect that people will have different views on it. I wouldn't have gone with them, but I trust Town's intention behind it, and I think they will have done the due diligence behind it to make sure that they're not going to repeat it. I had a quick flick through their website, BK's website, before we came on tonight, and there's nothing on there that would make me go, oh, that's terrible. There's one or two tabs for websites that have got women attached to it, but they're all, perfectly.
That's just your search history, isn't it?
No, it's not. I know what you mean. And it looked like they'd have cleaned up their act from the stuff, because the stuff they put out before was disgraceful. Yeah. And it looks like they've cleaned up their acts. Now, whether we need a global betting partner,
I don't know.
Not for me, but that's a different argument, isn't it?
I think I agree with you 100% on that one. I'd have probably given them a swerve, because I'm not sure there's enough time. But, I think at some point, companies have got to be allowed to make an amends, but I'd have probably swerved it. But anyway, not linked to that is, by all accounts, is Mark Devlin, who has left his role as CEO. Dean Hoyle to step into that particular role. From what I understand, it was quite amicable. And maybe sort of the board are wanting to bring in a different man and go in a different direction. Maybe he suffered a bit from being Phil's appointment, possibly. I think he's had a bit of a tough gig with the majority of his role when we were behind closed doors, and was cost cutting quite harshly at times. It's hard to judge the guy, to be honest. But safe to say, I don't think a lot of Town fans really took to him based on a few things like tweeting, how amazing Brentford were a couple of times, and appearing to sort of have the begging ball out, didn't they? On TV, with regards to behind closed doors and COVID and the TV deals, etc. That, and I think him being very London centric. I don't think Huddersfield people take well to a strong London accent, do they? You know, Danny Cowley, I think, kind of got the same sort of treatment in a lot of ways. But it's a hard one to judge for me, Mark Devlin. All the best, Mark. Never got to know him, never had to mix circles with him. Don't really have much of an opinion on him. I know a few people don't really like him, and I've got no issue with that. Nowhere for me to really go on that, other than, you know, all the best. Yeah. So
we don't really know anything about him, do we? I was pleased he brought in the updates. Seemed to be weighted on and then poured all over by people, myself included, to see if we could read stuff into it. I think you're absolutely right in that he suffered from being both a victim of COVID and an appointment of Phil. Just didn't cover himself in glory for me, and I'm not bothered that he's gone. So
no, I'm a little bit like that. Yeah, I'm a little bit like that. And the other thing that the
guy, honestly, what did he bring us to down? Nothing. I thought it said it all like Dan Rowan, and a guy I can't stand. And anytime there's any shitstorm in sport, any negativity, any drugs thing, any racing, anything horrible to do with sport, you'll get Dan Rowan. So Matt Devlin had said nothing. We didn't even know anything about him. No, there were nothing on the website. No videos, no nothing. And then all of a sudden he came out of the woodwork for that Dan Rowan thing when he came up and obviously got the violin out, and I just thought that just left a sour taste to me. Obviously there were the Twitter spats, but you know, some people can be nasty on there and that as well. And I just thought it were reactive stuff that, you know, I know what he's saying, Andy, with the updates, but that were only because you want a proactive move from him. For me, it was just people were asking for it and he give it. Yeah, I get that. You know, following Sean, but probably like Alex Ferguson and what have you.
He followed Julian Winter, didn't he? To be honest, he's followed Julian Winter, who followed Nigel Clibbin. So I don't think we've ever had a popular person in that role, have we?
Yeah, I just thought it was a good news. I just thought it was a good news story when I saw the news and that as well, and it kind of made my Christmas a bit happier. And obviously the results followed. So yeah,
sorry, Mark.
Good news coming out of the
club. But John Pearson says he's a QPR fan, which people didn't like about him. I didn't know he was a QPR fan. I just thought he seemed quite happy with Brentford. But there we go. But yeah, Mark Devlin's moved on. Again, one of those. I don't think too many people will be that bothered. A few people seem quite happy about it. I don't really care either way. Hopefully they get.
What is going to happen though?
Hopefully, see.
What is happening though with our club?
Well, we'll go to see what
is the next. What is going on next?
Well, what we're going to do, Cos, is just a moment. We're going to say what do you want to see in 2022, not 2021. Matt, let me change that very quickly. The last thing as well that's been doing the rounds with town fans is the pure legal debts. These show just under $500,000 owed to Huddersfield Town from little bits that I understand, but can't confirm 100% because I don't 100% know. It seems like it's likely to be sponsorship money. And me putting two and two together would probably think it's probably from the shirt stuff last season, where Phil said he'd have to plug the gap, you know, when they had the local businesses on the shirt. So I presume that it's probably from something like that. But I don't really have anything else to add on that, really. There's a few people have suggested something else, but it couldn't possibly be anything underhand with the way that football clubs operate.
No, I just think the biggest, you know, we've overachieved with his team and that, but the biggest thing is all underpinned. What is Dean's plans? What is he here to sell it on?
Well, let's go to what we want to see in 2022, and I think this will lead us nicely into. Let us know online as well what you want to see from Huddersfield Town in 2022. And I believe one thing Mr. Kosmala wants to see in 2022 is with Mr. Hoyle. Sorry, there, Cos, I've just had to tee you up.
No, it's not. It's like anything. You work for a company, you want to know what the vision is. You know, the company I work for, very clear what the vision is, what the ambition is, you know, for the next 3 to 4 or 5 years. So you're all buying into it and you're all working in the same direction. And obviously it's happened really quickly, or has it? You know, Dean's never really gone away and stuff. And that's the thing. It's really weird, isn't it? Because, like, obviously this stuff must be going through legally and what have you and stuff. But it seems pretty clear that Dean's going to be back. But is he back to pass on? Is he back? The only thing I saw was, and again, I think it were proper quotes, so I don't think it was speculation, but I think Dean said if we were there or thereabouts in January, he would bring some players.
I think this was from Mark Devlin, what Mark Devlin said at a ATT panel meeting, possibly. I think he said something along the lines of, and I think someone else said something along the lines of Dean. I think it's been doing the rounds online that Dean's asked them to give him a problem to solve or something like that. But yeah, I think Mark Devlin said that Dean.
It's really
Dean
weird.
would,
I
yeah.
was chatting to a couple of guys at Blackburn who kind of know Dean or associates to Dean and stuff, and they didn't know anything as well, which is really interesting. It's all a bit of a mystery, isn't it? And
He's doing well at keeping it quiet. Yeah,
going to be doing it.
He's doing very well at keeping it quiet.
Is it going to be a Radio Leeds job with Johnny? Is Dean going to be in the staff?
Well, Dean, if you listen, it could be an Andy Takes That Chance job if you're up for it. So, there we go. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
I just think it underpins everything, Matt.
It does, yeah.
Everything.
It does.
We can talk all we want about bringing in X, Y,
no,
Z.
Number one on my list.
Spots,
number one, mate, on my list here is...
It's huge, mate.
Yeah, I've put...
It's unbelievable what's happened, but yeah, it's... back to the future, I think, mate.
I've put number one, a clear outline from the ownership of what's happening, a new progressive CEO, and a plan of what we want to achieve going forward. I'm not asking for a lot, really. I just want to know. Want to know what crack is, essentially.
Andy, what's your gut feel? Do you think Dean could get it back and get his mojo back and kind of kick it on, or do you think that ship sailed for him? What's your gut feel about it?
Gut feel is he's back in again. I think hopefully he's fully recovered from that dreadful illness that he had, and I think he's back in the game. And there was a lot of kerfuffle about him coming to games and getting some abuse from town fans in the past, and hopefully that's gone by the wayside. I think that he's pepping them up behind the scenes to try and get some. I think that's a big factor in why there's been some more commercial deals. I think that happens when Dean gets involved, and he makes things happen, doesn't he? So this feels like the hand of Dean Hoyle is there for me. Whether that's to get it into a position where he can sell it on to somebody else, that could be a bit of a longer term plan. But I think he's certainly back in the game until the end of the season. But like you guys, I'd like to hear that expressed so we know what's going on. Because without that, you're just thinking, well, what is going to happen? Are we going to get any investment? Have we given him enough of a problem for him to want to stick his hand in his pocket and buy as a creative midfielder or whatever he thinks we need? So,
the Mark Devlin move seemed like a start of a clearing of the decks to make way for something, didn't it? That was my initial gut feeling on that. So I think we're all quite just I think we're all just all nosy buggers, aren't we? We just want to know. I think we just want to know where the football club's going, don't we? What are we looking to achieve? And I think it doesn't feel rudderless at the minute, but we just feels like somebody's steering, but they're in their own little private compartment, if you like, aren't they? So it'd be nice to hear from Dean. I think, it's been a while since we heard from Dean, and I've put one thing as well that I think it's a little bit down my list of what I'd like to see for 2022, and it says a bit more belief return to the club and a bit more of a battle cry. We're sixth, but we don't really act like it. And when we went up, with Hoyle at the helm before from League One and the Championship, there was always a battle cry. There were always things happening, weren't there? And there was always that sort of, you felt like you were not quite going to war, but you felt like you were part of something. And whereas at the minute, it still feels a little bit fragmented. And I think maybe a big battle cry from Dean, at Canal Side or wherever he wants to do it in the right sort of setting would really bring a lot of people flooding back. There's a lot of people who become a little bit disillusioned, gone to watch Golker, Liversidge, whatever. And I'd like to see these guys, be reunited and come back and, and the crowd start to swell a bit more and a bit more belief return that this sixth place isn't a fluke and that maybe we could do something here if we all saw during 2016-17 when the fans get united behind something, something powerful can happen. And I'd just like Dean to really, if he's the guy to lead, us back to something exciting. And I think that really is what stands out for me, as well as a new ball player midfielder like Taylor Richards from Brighton. That is also on my list, but there we go. But yeah, so it's the ownership, like Kosi's right, the ownership underpins everything, doesn't it? I thought Kosi was going to come in. There he is.
Definitely. I think. No, I think it does. It'll be fascinating to know that. I think January's going to be Dean. He'll be out soon in whether it be Examiner or Radio Leeds or what have you, or maybe with us. But yeah, it's interesting. I feel for Phil.
I do. Yeah,
I know I've had one or two arguments with kind of people on Twitter, but. For me, Phil's left Huddersfield Town in a much better position than when he took over. People are throwing, obviously, there's stuff at the moment with, kind of the wages and what have you. But mate, the club, he's had to make the big decisions, get rid of a lot of the absolute. I don't want to swear them, but some people that don't care about Huddersfield Town, and I think there's a solid base now to kick this football club on, and that's quite. I'm excited by that, and if I want, then there's no point watching Huddersfield Town or being. Okay, I'm excited for our future, and you can't go to Blackburn and come away from yesterday thinking, well, there's something to build on. Probably not a promotion season. I'll be honest, you don't feel it in your heart, do you? But there's stuff to build on, and we've got foundations of a nice little house again now. So, is it Dean? Is it someone else? It's fascinating. It's going to be an interesting month this January.
It is. It certainly is. The only other thing that I've really got here is that I think in terms of the fans, I think we probably, and I'll happily count myself in this, and it's a shame Pos isn't on here, and I think Pos would agree. I think it'd be nice if we started making a little bit more noise home and away. But I think that will come once the whole sort of ownership and the reunification goes through, if you like. And I think fans will start to believe, and I think it all goes hand in hand, doesn't it? And because we've seen when Huddersfield fans start making noise home and away, it makes it really channels through to the players on the pitch, and it really does do a good job. And it's not been terrible or quiet or anything this season, but I've seen us do great things, and I think I think a lot of this football club and the fans, and I think we can do something really cool here. We just need to get behind an ideal or somebody and really push it through, and hopefully that's 2022 for me.
Matt, whether we think we're going to get there or not, we're in the discussion, we're in the debates on the TV for promotion. It's incredible to hear it, isn't it? 3rd of January, Huddersfield Town, he probably bottom out. I think Sheffield United got about 20 games in hand, haven't they? But it's like, it is, it just makes me smile to think, God, we're in the discussion now for for playoff.
It's a great achievement, isn't it?
Wow.
Really great achievement.
Yeah, because we've got, that doesn't happen by fluke, man. We've got some good footballers, and the division might not be all it's cracked up to be, but we've got some really good footballers. I think we shouldn't forget that, and we've got a good management team that have done brilliantly to kind of turn it around. And that it's incredible. That Middlesbrough game, that could have walked out of there. I was thinking, where are we going here? But obviously we've stormed back with this incredible points haul, and the Burnley game will be, like you said, Annie, I think listening to Dice yesterday, God, we had to on his way home from there. He got like the end of the world, losing at Leeds, but it's going to be two pretty much, I think, much changed teams and stuff. And then all of a sudden, I think, haven't we got 3 home games in a row at some point back end of January? It's weird, isn't it, how the fixtures have kind of come together. So our home form's good. So you know what? I don't know. I'm getting excited, man.
Do you know what, Cos? At one point, sorry, Andy. At one point, if Dwayne Holmes had scored that header, where the Kaminsky made the save, if that had gone in, we'd have been 4th at that point in play. After 25, 30 minutes, and that would have been incredible. But yeah, I agree with you. Sorry, Andy, you go on from there.
I can't remember what I was going to say now. apart from wanting to be safe, because I'm the miserable old man of the pod, and to get us 50 points, and then I might get excited. We need to make sure we're not going to go down again. One thing I would like for 2022 is a Sorba Thomas goal at the Cowshed end, because he keeps scoring.
Yeah, it does.
I'm happy.
We've got
Wembley and
at Wembley
final, mate.
We've got at the end of January, Kosi, we've got Stoke at home, then Derby at home, Preston away, then Sheffield United at home. So 3 out of the 4 are at home. So that's and Preston away. We know how we do it. Preston away, and they've made a great managerial appointment, by the way. Let me just read out the guys on social media on YouTube here. We've got Gerard Island says, "I'd like to see the promising players we have in the B team given a run if our push for the top 6 tails off." Macaulay Senior says, Dean said, give us a headache give us a headache in January if we were up there. Jay Singh says, agreed, really need,
he did, didn't he?
Agreed, really need communication about the direction and vision of the club and who's in charge. Like I say, I've seen people suggest this online, and other people sort of say, well, mind your own business, your job's there to turn up as a fan and cheer the team on. But I think that misses the point a bit, because you cheer on the team, but you also cheer on the vision of the club at the same time. It's something you rally behind, isn't it? And I think some people might miss that point on Facebook. So Terry Mulak says, I wouldn't be shocked if he's setting up to be invested into from elsewhere, although we need to push on in January. We've all heard these rumours of a mysterious investor waiting in the wings to come in with Dean Hoyle, haven't we? But, Dean has, any leaks or information leaks from the football club, he is absolutely, he's been on that roof hammering away. There is absolutely nothing coming out of the football club at all. So, I've got absolutely no idea what's going on with that, I'll be honest. Macaulay Senior says, just seen that we're interested in signing Keshi Anderson from Blackpool. He's a cracking player. I thought he was outstanding against us, and he's someone who's caught my eye this season. He'd be decent. He's more of a winger, isn't he, than a number 10? But he's a good player, is Keshi Anderson. Terry Mulak says, I don't see anything in that, although he was the best player on the pitch when we played them a few weeks ago. I think that's Anderson. And 72-75 is the yardstick for, or 72-75 points is the yardstick for sixth place, says Gerard Island. So that's another 35 points or so that we need. So thanks, guys, for doing that. I think final thought, my Jerry Springer final thought would be January transfers. What would you like to see, Andy? You can wrap it up. And what would you like to see coming in January?
I'd like to see a creative midfielder and another a focal point striker that can help Danny Ward, because I don't think we're going to get a full season out of Danny, and I think we play better when the Danny type of characters forwards up front than the goal sniffer Jordan Rhodes. It seems to me in these last few games anyway. So somebody who could just do something on a turn in midfield. I don't think High can do it. O'Brien's very much he drives on, but he hasn't got that turn in him. So I just want a tricky. I want Aaron Moy back. I'll be honest with you. Aaron Moy back.
We'd all love Aaron Moy back, wouldn't we? Aaron Moy.
So can Thomas goal and Aaron Moy back, please?
I tell you what, if Dean Hoyle just rocks up at with the press conference with Aaron Moy in tow, then anybody who's giving him stick will be down at his knees, won't they? Sort of worshipping. That'll be the ultimate. Yeah. So that's all you need to do, Dean. Is Aaron Moy's probably on about $100,000 a week in China at the minute. So it's a very simple thing. Be an expensive one.
I think same as Andy, but just keeping hold of everyone as well. But you know what, mate? This is going to be so controversial because I know you love him and that. But if Toffolo went and
don't you give Harry some stick? I'm a big fan of Harry Toffolo.
No, it's O'Brien's the big one for me, mate. But I get money talk.
Yeah, the Chesties are they've been linked, haven't they, again? But I don't know whether that's just.
Especially with Phillips out till March.
Yeah, he's not really a Phillips type player, though, is he? And they got linked with that USA. Do you know? I don't know where they've got any money from, Leeds, because they said they didn't have any money, and then they spent 30 million on Dan James. So, if they've got anything left, who knows? So, hopefully, it won't be enough to prize Lewis O'Brien.
It's exciting times as a town fan, and God, barren 2 seasons, haven't we? Of just misery and stuff, and we've got it back now, haven't we? And if Dean's got his mojo back, man, anything could happen. It's brilliant just to be thinking. I'm still reading it in. We can't be going for playoffs, can we?
I don't know, mate. I tell you, a couple of players in January, and we could very much end up there. And I think they need to be good players. I don't think the players that I've put, because I think the problem with January is there are a lot of games being called off in the Premier League due to COVID, and don't get me started on COVID and injuries. There's a couple of football clubs I think are completely taking the piss where they've gone, oh, we've got a couple of COVID issues. Oh, but we've also got this long injury list. It's like, when has a club ever been able to call a game off for injuries? It just doesn't happen. I remember Middlesbrough trying it once in the 90s and they got deducted 2 points. So, I think that needs to be knocked on the head now with teams crying off with injuries. But moving on from that and, clubs in the not too distant vicinity, I think for us, it's going to be very difficult to get young players because of the amount of games being called off and the build-up of games in the Premier League. I can see teams holding on to players a lot more, or definitely waiting right until the end of January. So it may have to be a patient wait for us, to the end of the month. But I can just see that clubs are kind of like holding on to them and just saying, look, we've got 20 games in space of 3 months coming up. We need as many players here as possible because we're going for X, Y, and Z. So I think it's going to be a bit of a frustrating run, but I would like to see a player like Taylor Richards from Brighton. He was at Doncaster last year, ball-playing midfielder, can play at 8 and 10, really good player, left-footed. And the lad at Arsenal, Fowler Balogun, I think Middlesbrough and a few others were linked with him, but they've gone elsewhere. So hopefully somebody like that. I know he's a young lad, and Danny Ward, if you might need someone a bit more experienced to sort of like interchange with Ward, but from what I understand, Meepo will be back, or if he's not back already, with West Ham straight. So I think we might need to
To
replace
make
that.
that 50-point mark, I agree, Andy. Yeah, get us that 50 points, get us over the line, and we're all right.
You know what, Kosi, you'll like this one. John Pearson says on YouTube, we only need another 5 or 6 points. 45 or 46 points should be enough to stay up. We're almost there. So there you go. So priorities. Gerard Island says 32 to 35 from 20 games could see us in the top 6, which would be great. I think with the way this season's going and the fixtures, I think he's right. 32, 35, from the remaining would see us in that top 6. Terry Mulak says centre midfield and left back. Don't feel like we have a backup left back to cover Toffs if he's injured, because Ruffles doesn't seem to be favoured by Carlos Cobra, and that's an interesting one because Ruffles spent a lot of time out with COVID, didn't he, and the after effects of COVID. So it's going to be interesting to see if Ruffles plays at Burnley.
He's a big boy, isn't he?
He's got 6 foot, isn't he? Yeah, got 6 foot.
How tall is he, man? I couldn't believe it yesterday. Yeah, saw him at Blackburn. You're like, bloody hell, he's huge.
Oh, mate, Adam Cottrell sent a little thing here that says the Chinese Super League is financially on its knees. Dean, go get Aaron Moy. Make it happen. Make it happen. Bring Aaron Moy back where he belongs, because that would be outstanding.
Don't go back, mate.
Oh, Aaron Moy could play in our midfield till he's 40 years old. He's just so good with the football. He would be. I think he'd be fantastic. But there we go. That's all I've got for this week, guys. I don't know if you've got anything else that you want to add in, or we can call it a night.
No, thanks from me. Thank you very much.
Cheers, man.
No, James Snow, if you're listening to us out there, come claim your prize on YouTube. With regards to your fantasy Premier League prize. Congrats to Denny Ledger, who was top of the Championship one. Cozzy's done one. He's off to bed. And I think that's us now, and we'll start rolling through the end credits.
That is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, they're the pride of the town, and the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.